punk rock changed our lives.
What's up, Rob?
Not much. I'm just, hanging in at the new space, getting this place set up still. But
I still need a straight up intro of Rob. This might be the first one where I'm stumped.
This is great. Rob, who are you? Where did you come from? You've been in this space forever. And most people would just see, this is like when my son runs by me, he's like, "You didn't see me, right, Dad?" Like, I was just a blur. And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, no, of course I didn't see you." But that's Rob at every event you've ever been to. So tell us
I like it that way.
Yeah.
Just flying under the radar. No, I've been making signs for a long time, since, I don't know, 2000. I thought I was going to be in a band. So that's how that all started. But my dad had a sign shop, and
start there. Start at the band.
Oh, back
the
up.
band
I
was
need to
fun.
know more about that piece of it. I didn't know that part of the story.
No, yeah, I played guitar in a band. We did Warped Tour. We toured the whole country. Like, it was really fun.
Really?
We were called Offset way back in the day, but now there's a rapper named Offset. I know that, but.
So like Offset, because like Offset Press.
Exactly. There was a sign in the garage that it said Offset printing on it, and we were like, Offset, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And we just stuck with that because we used to practice in the garage all the time.
So funny. I never knew that. That makes sense.
I love it.
But yeah, my dad made signs, and I used to help him over the summers. And then one summer it just stuck, 2005. So I got into it, and then fell in love with CrossFit in 2009. 2011, I was like, man, I think gyms need signage and branding. And so started Signs RX back in 2011. And then that led to, all of this madness.
Madness is right. I mean, I think that your own introduction, no surprise, because you are definitely one of the more humble people that I've met in CrossFit. Definitely one of the more behind the scenes people. Frankly, if you're listening to this and you're part of CrossFit and you've seen any amount of CrossFit anything, Rob not only likely printed it, but likely probably personally hung it from a precarious position, dangling in the back of an event, doing a thing. And it's fun for me to bring people on. Carrie's one of those people. I think all of us to some degree are one of those people where you just end up in the background and everybody knows you, but no one really necessarily knows you. And that's the best part about CrossFit, is that there's so many of us who are just like extended family until you get together. You're like, oh, I remember that time. Like you and I, I've known you now for, I don't know, over 10 years, but it wasn't until we jumped on a call, we were like, wait a minute. Now I remember
that.
The games, like 2014 or whatever, 15 or something like that. And then you would set that up, which is super cool. There's a couple
now it's
things.
Making sense.
Yeah.
It's a Signs by RX. I was looking on my Instagram because I messaged him. He put a sign up for the affiliate summit, and I didn't know if it was like fake or real or whatever. And I was like, dude, this is sweet. And then I was like, yeah, I'm running it. He's like, oh, or it might be somebody might run your Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Andrew. That was you. Okay.
That's me. Yeah, dude, that was legit. Cause I don't know if that was real or not, but it made it like,
real.
You know what? Epic though. Epic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Trying to bring awareness to it.
And this is how it all works here.
Yeah.
So band aside, I think for me, it would be fun for everybody to know basically Rob's origin story. But the reason that I'm excited that you're on here today is that, one, the premise of the podcast, Infinitely Scalable, and you've definitely weathered some storms over the years, being the behind the scenes guy, sticking signs on everything. And one of the things that affiliate owners in general seem to, I'm hesitant to use negative terms and phrasing, because I think that that's one of the big problems in the space, is that now the collective identity of affiliate owner has become one of struggle and condemnation to some degree. And it's not the case at all, because all business is hard, right? And I think it's more effective and more valuable to introduce them to other entrepreneurs who feel safe, because you're in the space. And so they can understand that there is, in fact, universal struggle. And it's not an affiliate. It's not the business model of the CrossFit affiliate that's universally hard or broken or bad or this or that. They're all struggles. And so I think that part of it was cool. But I'm mostly interested in Rob as the CrossFitter, Rob as the back person, and some of how Rob sees the world as much as anything, but I do want to talk about some of the business stuff. If you're cool with sharing that to this
absolutely
unseen audience. Give me the backstory. How'd you start CrossFit?
Absolutely.
I don't think I even know this story.
Oh, I was my wife. She was a teacher at a school, and one of her she's teaching second grade. Another second grade teacher said, "I think your husband would really like this thing I'm doing, and it's called CrossFit." And I was like, we went, and it was in someone's garage, right, just on a street. He had a double 2-car garage, and that was the CrossFit gym. And I think the very first workout I did, it was like running, and there was like 10 of us, and it was like running and pull-ups, and I could barely finish the run. But what got me hooked was like I was coming back, I was the last one in, and everybody ran after me and was like, "Rob, come on, you got this! Like, get in there, come on, let's go!" And they just like encouraged me, pushed me to finish, and ever since then, I was like, "Man, I love this." I also just loved showing up and being like, "I just do what they tell me to do. This is amazing." Because I was used to, bodybuilding and doing all that stuff, and leg day, arm day, all that. And instead, I get to come up, and it was competitive. I'm very competitive, so like I was like that as well. Just the competitive nature of it. Fell in love with putting the time on the board. I wish we still did that, but we don't.
What year was that?
That was 2009.
You're geriatric with the rest of us, Rob. Look at you.
That was a long time ago.
You need more grit in your beard, though.
Yeah, it was. It's there. I trimmed it, so we're good. But yeah, I started there, and then they got a space, they got a warehouse, and that's kind of where like the wheels started turning. We get into this empty warehouse, and I was like, "Man, we need wall ball targets. We need this. We need that." So I just started using his gym as my playground for everything, and from there, started working at events. I competed in a few. Same thing. I was like, "Man, they need stuff here." Got in with a few event organizers in the area, and started like going to their events, and I would compete and put signs up and just do one after the other, and yeah, that's where it started. But it was just me. So again, really hard. I was still working for my dad, still working for the company, still helping them out, doing production, graphic design, whatever they need. I wore every hat, whatever it was family business. So whatever the need was, we would do it. So yeah, started there, and then I decided I wanted to coach as well. So I also got my level 1 and started coaching at Liso CrossFit. So yeah, just doing all that, trying to get the company going, coaching, just had my first baby. Everything was, it was wild. And I thought for a minute there that I wanted to quit just because it was too much. Like I was like doing it, not really making any money. I was like, "Man, what am I doing?" And the owner of that gym was like, I was telling him about it, my struggles and everything. He was like, "Dude, you can't, man, this is too good. Like you can't stop. Like you have to keep going." And I was like, "All right." So he's like, "Let me help you." So he was a former Marine and super organized, super regimented, just really good guy. And, he came in, he kind of helped me like get organized and get things together. We brought on a graphic designer. We brought in a customer sales rep. So then there was 4 of us, so had a little backing there, but still coaching like 14 classes a week, trying to raise a family and keep this thing going and work for my dad. So we did it. But the craziest part was we were the original gym I went to, their warehouse, they wanted to remake the whole thing, like redo it and brand the whole thing. And they called me and they're like, "Hey, Rob, we got this big project. Are you interested? We want to wrap some walls, get some dry erase boards, do everything." I was like, "Yes, I'm in." And then they told me that it had to be done in one weekend. So I think they called me on a Monday, and we had to turn this around by the following Monday. So I'm talking like 26 by 50 foot wall wrap, bathroom walls wrapped, dry erase boards, wrap the equipment, floor graphics, everything. So I said yes. And I think I worked like 30 hours straight, something like that, 28, 30 hours straight to knock this out. So we got it all printed, got it all installed. And then that Monday, the branding person from CrossFit was in the gym and was like, "Who the heck did all this?" And called me up. And then 3 weeks later, I was in South Africa at my first like regional event, just putting graphics up in South Africa.
Dude, the cool part is about that story though, is like talking to these affiliates about business daily, because it's all I want to do. And I kind of just do what I want to do for this rep job. And then, and so I do, man, branding your stuff can make a disorganized person who just likes to coach and watch old Louis Simmons videos and is like very passionate. You can look professional. And I want to let a majority of CrossFit trainers who are like super interested into the weeds and like looking at every YouTube video and like, is it faster to go with your right hand on a shuttle run versus your left? Like, you are awesome. To the untrained person, you might be a little bit nerdy, and that's okay. But if you have good branding inside of your gym, the second a prospect walks in, they think maybe this person has their shit together, even if you don't. So like, I don't think the importance of what you do can probably be understated. I wrapped all my ergs. I felt like I was fucking C-suite. I felt like, Donald Trump's going to walk in here and be like, my Lord, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, so I couldn't agree more with what you do, because now I see it, and I've seen gyms that do it well and gyms that don't.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And there's nothing better than seeing it come off the paper and in the gym as well. It's designed, and then we install it, and it's like, yes, this is awesome.
There's two things that are the kind of sidebars. The first one is that for everybody listening, you could blame Rob. He killed the garage gym. He's the one that made them all fancy. So now everybody has to have.
I wish.
It's all his fault. You can go ahead and email him. Rob, his signs are. I'm just kidding. But Andrew's right? Like, I think it is. There was definitely an era where, like, I grew up. I call it the tetanus era of CrossFit, right? Where like we all kind of grew up. I think what I was going to say is that what's old is new again, because all of us started basically in a garage gym, and now most of us are all back in a garage gym. Say la vie. But I started in that like sort of tetanus era of it. But I think it was very cool to watch. It was like slowly over time, then suddenly all at once, things all of a sudden brand became a conversation inside the space. And that was definitely parallel with, sort of your emergence in the brand to come into that. And I think largely it was when HQ realized, we should probably, standardize some of these graphics packages, start putting some logos on things, maybe have some ideas as to like, what these are going to look like publicly facing. And like that started to change. But as it applies to the gym, I think there was a slower, adaptation. We talk about this quite a bit, especially with Jonathan, is where the affiliate owners think that like the conversation starts and stops with marketing and brand and identity, and they want to pick it up and talk about like coaching and stuff like that. But there's so much to be said. Like the coaching is all of that stuff is important. It's like the infinite game that's to be played with it. But to Andrew's point, the moment someone walks in, they decide whether or not you're going to coach them. And so many people miss this part of it where they're like, I'm the world's best coach. I'm like, right. But everybody walks in and they still think they're going to get, tetanus just from being in the gym. There's a change that happens there. And a lot of that is the first communication, which is that point of brand, if that makes sense. And like, I guess for me, I'd love to know, what were the big struggles that you started to see pretty universally across the board with most affiliates, where you're just like, man, if we could just solve this problem with them or for them, we would start to see some changes, if you know the answer to that question?
I would say, like a brand identity. Early on, a lot of people were just using like grunge fonts and, just slapping something together and using
cowboy.
Like,
they use that old cowboy font.
the CrossFit, and then some other, it was something like that. And I think what we've really tried to focus on and work on is enhancing whatever they have. Like, even if that's all you have, like you come through our system, and the goal is to, all right, how can we enhance this? How can we make it look better? How can we put it on all these different things? Is there any way, we can help you with that?
Yeah.
And so just coming up with, different types of forums and meetings with them and asking the right questions, we're able to do that. But I'd say that's the biggest thing from the beginning. And then, even in 2020, when everything like slowed down, that's what kept us alive. We just started doing more branding packages and like rebranding, and it really helped while things were a bit slower. So it helped us refine the process.
And I don't want to gloss over this, because you just told that story like it was nothing. That you just, I dropped in, worked 28 to 30 straight hours, and then serendipitously HQ shows up and is like, holy shit. And also, we'd like you to go to Africa. That's not nothing, but what I'm more curious about is two things. One, where does that come from? Like that innate drive to make it happen? Because many people, affiliate owners included, today in like work, they're like, I could take action, but I'd rather sit and ponder and think about, is that going to be right? And fear really paralyzes them to not move forward and not take that action. And what is it, about your, we'll say, upbringing, your life that brought you to that moment that was like, I got to just go do this? And then secondly, have you said no to anything since?
Those are both great questions and difficult to ask. I don't know where it comes from. I guess I just really care about this, the sport. I also just care about people. And like if somebody asks me, I just like to help people. So if someone's like, hey, can you do this? Oh, and by the way, can we do it this fast? Like I look at it as a challenge. And I don't know if it's just something within me or what. I don't know, but I don't like to fail, and I just like to help. So I think it's a combination of all of those things where it just drives me to do that. And then saying no to things like I think my team would tell me that I should say no to more things, but I don't. I just in our industry, it's tough sometimes because it can be very busy and then it can be very slow, And so when it's busy, it's really busy, and then when it's slow, it's really slow. So that's why if people ask, even if it is all at once, I don't know, I just still take it on unless there is no way we can get it done. You know what I mean? If I look at it and I'm like, there's no possible way we're going to do it, then I won't. But if I can see a solution, then I usually will take it on and tackle it.
On the flip flop of fear, uh, the fearful question would be like, how fearful are you waking up and like, man, AI is just going to crush me? Like I'd like to ask that question because the other day I did my own accounting and I was like, why the fuck was I paying for this shit? Do you know what I mean? Like out of nowhere, I did a really difficult accounning thing
Really?
that I normally would.
I got audited.
Dude, yeah. Well, and that's the
Hmm.
thing. It's like everyone's going to get on. Who knows? We're living this is a movie, a giant movie. But like, what differentiates? Because I can see, um, like even you leveraging AI tools and stuff. But I look at it and like, what? Yeah, talk to me about that because that's something where I know a lot of affiliates. They're angry because they're broke. That's the number one thing. They're angry because they're broke, and then they're looking for the easiest way to like, all right, if I can get a AI sticker just sent to my place, like, why is that not going to work?
I mean, it's just not there yet. We get AI designs sent to us all the time, and they're just the words aren't spelled, and
Yep.
we still have to
Yeah.
go in and fix it. And sometimes it's even more work because they come up with this
Sure.
beautiful thing, and we have to recreate the whole thing,
Yeah.
like to make it work. And then we even have people get mad at us because it's not exactly like what AI did, to refine it. But to answer the question, I think it's just trying to embrace it and see how we can use it, see how it can help the company versus being fearful of it. Because we will still use it. Hey, I'm stuck on this idea. Can you generate something for me? And then it's not like we just use that. It just gives us the idea and we brainstorm it and work through it. So I don't know. And I still think it can't solve some of the problems we have to, like creating a competition floor for someone, creating all the workouts, the layouts, so we can show progression, show the event, moving and do things like that. There's still a lot we do that I don't think it's quite there yet. But I'd say embracing it. Yeah, all my designers were fearful at first, for sure. But we're all just kind of using it, trying to adapt it. Yeah,
It's going to replace all our jobs, but now it's
a good
yeah.
answer.
It's adoption.
I mean, my brother-in-law is deep into it. Every time I talk to him, he's like, "Are you doing this yet? Are you doing this yet?" And I'm like, "What? What
There's
are
always
you talking about? Teach me. Tell me." He's like, "You'll be at home, and one day you'll just be able to press a button, and the machine will start, and you'll walk in, it'll be all done." I'm like, "Hey, what? Okay, that sounds great. Let's build an app. Let's build an app where like people can just order from you, and it goes right to the machine."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's see if we can get there.
Well, I think the thing that you really offer right now, especially right now, in a time, and I've talked about this a lot, both if affiliate on this podcast and in other places, but like the superpower of this generation will be your ability to filter information. And I don't necessarily, that means in terms of your ability to go find and get good answers, but also effectively bring things to life and disinformation and yada, yada, yada. But really what you offer still at this point is a singular sole person, a sole entity, right? The company where essentially somebody can walk in virtually or otherwise in the front door with little to no idea as to who they are or what their space they're occupying, and then come out the backside with an identity. And to me, that's always been super cool. And one of the things that I think, another thing that I've talked about a lot is that the two biggest struggles facing the affiliate model today are standardization and doubt. And a lot of that is because it's not an attempt, but there's a natural leaning towards this idea that like if we could just make them all the same, then we can high tide rises all ships. But that's not really how that was supposed to go. And so the antidote to that is the thing that has always been the thing that drove the affiliate model, which is that individuality, that identity.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is that as a company, you guys are essentially like the scion of that, right? Because what Science RX does, and effectively what you've produced for events and gyms and singular people and garage gyms, is something to point at and be like, that's us, right? Like that's who we are. And well, you can go to AI and be like, give me a thing that looks like this, then you get something back with 14 eyes and 9 fingers, and you're like, you know what, that kind of works, but there's something missing. The beauty of AI is that it's there, it's infinitely efficient, but it's like all things. When you sit down and you write something yourself, there's a different level of satisfaction than when you're like, hey, write me a thing that says this, and it spits it out. You're like, okay, perfect, right? When that comes, that's different when you're talking about a blog post, but when you're talking about what you're going to paint on the wall or stick on the wall or put on your t-shirt or put on your car, like having a human, somebody who also will ask you the important questions so you don't have to know the right prompts, that's going to walk you through like, how do you want this to feel? What do you want your people to associate with when they think of your name and when they walk in your gym, and like your colors, and it's kind of a very cool, it's a thing that we talk about a lot and becomes very philosophical and metaphorical, but you guys on a day-to-day basis do it in a literal sense, which is super cool, because you give people collective identities. You're the reason why people can point at something and be like, or they can wear that thing and be like, yeah, that's us. And that I think is cool.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
And AI is not taking.
No, they're not. What's funny is we have so many OG like CrossFit people on, and we always have that same thing of like, we're all whatever, you know what I mean? The first thing you do is you talk about when you started CrossFit, and then that either puts you into a camp, a respected camp. It's so funny because it's like a black belt mentality. But the funny part about it's like, I feel like we are one of the only cultures still, and this is good and bad, that we like how you were saying, Rob, like you were getting cheered, even though you're like dead ass last of the run or something.
Yes.
It's funny because like I love that about our community, but man, I competed in this jiu-jitsu thing, and I was like, that is like the exact opposite like mindset of what I need to have when you're like trying to break someone's arm off and they're trying to do the same thing to you. It was like so crazy because I was like, man, sometimes I wish back in the day we were like actually like being like, hey, you fucking lost. You better weigh and measure your food, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, would that have changed the trajectory of who we are? Would no one have just started CrossFit? So that's the way I came into it. I remember Joe DeGain just lovingly gave me 95 pounds on Fran day one.
Right.
And as I was about to vomit, he was in my face, like educating me as like an alpha dominance move. Like, dude, you think you're fit and you just got dominated. And now you have to listen to me. Like his like wrestler mentality. So I don't know. I just like,
that's so awesome.
Want to have more stories where people are like, yeah, I was getting cheered for. And then some guy came up to me and like, I remember I wanted to go in when we were at the bar at a summit, and like I wanted to go to sleep, and I just said, man, I'm tired. And just before I knew it, Tosh handed me a milk. Didn't say anything, just gave me a milk. And I was like, I get it. I get it. Like, thank you. Like, thank you. Yes. It honestly, like, I thanked him. Like, that was an important thing. Dude, I say all that. Have you denied some people because their branding is so bad? Not denied their business, but have you advised them? Because going back to that OG CrossFit opened up in '09, dude, I used to see some crazy murals on the walls, like stuff where
Paintings,
you'd be
right?
like, yeah, come on, maybe we should take that one down, guys. Have you
Oh
ever
no, but
kindly
that's
advised people?
uh, I mean, we give them options, right? We let them choose what they want, but I've never been like, you should take that down. Like that's
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
the
no.
worst
See,
logo you've ever seen? I'm just kidding. You don't have to out
the
people.
worst
no, I
logo,
want.
our original logo. There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
too, too kind.
We try to
What
throw chalk on it.
I'm curious with the number of people you've worked with, and I think this is probably going to come back, and I hope it doesn't cancel your business. What's the most unreasonable thing other than your first big work there was that CrossFit Costa Mesa? That was
It
the
was. Yep.
full revamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Awesome.
beyond that? Because I would imagine there have been many since then that also feel unreasonable, or just maybe in scope. Like, hey, we gotta go across the world, take all these things and create solutions to problems that we don't even know how to approach. And I don't think people always think of signage as being that, but like it's been a fun it's been a treat really to see you guys at the games and see how many people are involved. And not I think a lot of people wouldn't understand the nuance of being on the floor at the games and going, you got 45 seconds turnover between heats. What material can you use to put names on and create all of those things? And so there's like so much more to it that is beyond just what's inside the affiliate walls. But can you speak to some of the things that were like, we had no idea how to solve this problem, but we said yes, and then we figured it out?
I mean, I can't go on without saying like it's definitely a team effort. And you guys are giving me a lot of praise, but I wouldn't be here without the team, my team, the team at CrossFit, like some of the hardest working people I know to this day. I don't know if it's just because of they're CrossFitters or what, but just some of the hardest working people ever. But we've had a few things. There was that one year at Games where we had to do the rig reveal. I don't know if you remember that. That was a huge team effort, but we had to basically hide a rig. We called it the barbecue cover. And, the whole idea was to cover the entire rig with black. So nobody knew it was this new rig coming out. And that was an all night project. So we stayed up through the night trying to figure out how the heck we were going to tape it, how we were going to make it easy enough to rip, pull apart and come down. I remember I was inside there, labeling the handstand push-up walls, just baking inside this barbecue cover. And I don't know if it ended up being like what everybody wanted it to be, but it worked. We hit the rig and it didn't fall off before the event.
Was that the killer cage or was that the A-frame?
That was the A-frame in Carson, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
The killer cage, that thing was massive. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so hot in Carson.
Oh yeah.
It was.
Man, it was so hot.
The tennis stadium was hot.
For all the old heads that might be listening to this, like it is, I don't know that this is my personal opinion, and I'm curious what you guys think, but I don't know that we'll ever replace that feeling of being in the bowl. Like I was on the floor for those years and like the way the crowd lit up at sunset, Friday Night Lights, like that is why that exists in affiliates. Here we are during the open. That moment, like those will always like give me chills just to think back. And if I go back and watch clips of, Spiel standing up a clean that seems like inhuman that he can, do that, all those little moments. But that tennis stadium was second to none, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude, you're that's it.
Yeah.
But we're also the old NBA players that just talk about the 1995 Chicago Bulls and Charles Barkley, Dikembe Mutombo, and I do it all the time. And that only Tupac and Biggie were rappers, and today's stuff is just garbage. Like that's the hard part, Carrie, because I'm so with you. It's not even funny. I'm riding with you in the front seat on that statement. But also,
but that's not the same thing. You can't say that because that's like saying, that'd be like saying like, no one's ever going to be as good as Ronan once was. He was the greatest to ever do it. Like what we're talking about is that if the NBA decided, hey, we don't want to compete in arenas anymore, we're going to go down to the neighborhood court And that's going to be our thing. Because like that's the change that essentially has happened. I don't mean to take away from like the advent of it. It's just that StubHub Center, whatever you want to call it, whatever iteration you want, was a venue that was, because we went from a dirt floor to the crock pot from hell, essentially, was the tennis court, right? Like the tennis stadium. It was just such an emergence of a sport that if you were a part of that era, everybody felt like we came of age at the same time. Like there was something different about it. And there's, I think to your point, Andrew, though, if you didn't experience those parts and you weren't a part of that era, you could easily look at any one of the venues, Madison, or DFW, whatever you want to call it, Fort Worth, and TBD on Albany. I know it too well. But you could look at them and be like, these are amazing, because they did a really, really great job with all of them. But like they're missing, because like they were already mainstream. Going from Aromas to Carson was such a massive come up. Mm-hmm. Everybody was invested. It didn't matter. Carrie just gave me goosebumps now talking about the tennis stadium. And I don't even like competitive CrossFit.
At night, yeah.
At night, yeah. I still can remember the smell of it, the sound of it, the moments. Like it's where I met Rob, right? Like I can remember those. I can remember this, like the Airbnbs staying at by the beach. Like, there's just so much about it that yes, it'll forever be nostalgic. But it's not because of the players on the court. It's 100% because of
the funny part too about the community piece was like, you're right, Tony, but I don't know how we got into StubHub on this. This is hilarious. But what a terrible city in theory to like have the games at, because in reality you were either at the StubHub Center and like no one hung out unless you were like in a little tiny group. I did think it was like in terms of the city of Madison. Dude, the whole city.
Madison was cool. I will give it that.
CrossFit. Yeah. Like that was, and you're just like meeting affiliate owners, like going on.
There's one hotel in Madison, so then we all had that problem, right? So like there's
yeah,
on both sides.
It's I don't know that we'll get back to that. Well, I think there is a future where that comes back, because supplanting in a location like that and truly taking it over, I think it does a couple things that are so amazing. And Rob, I'm curious on your opinion here, like. I think what you guys got to do with Signage in Madison, like take the globe, right? Like, I don't know what exists there the rest of the year, but that thing was such a focal point for every person that walked by through Vendor Village or anything, right? Like every single person had to have a photo by that. Or if you went to, what was that hotel? The one on the water?
The Edgewater?
Edgewater, thank you, of course. But that sign out front, right? Like those things where you get to like CrossFit's here, and everybody knew exactly where to go for everything. And, every restaurant had, whatever it was, Julie Fouché, whoever on the glass.
Were you in charge of all those? Was that all you?
No, definitely not. We didn't do all of that. You mean all the signage? No. The globe was done.
Rob basically moved to a city with 6 months.
By someone else, and that illuminated sign was someone else as well. We just did the elevators inside. We did the windows. We did like all of that stuff. So there was typically 3 companies that would do everything at the bigger events. So we were part of that.
Yeah.
Part of one of the 3.
That's a bandwidth piece. Could you have done all of it? Yeah. We
did last year. We did everything last year. So in Texas, that was all us. But every year prior to that, it was always around 3 companies.
If you're looking at it all, and you're like, let's say location, right? Small town, you can come up to Louisville, like CrossFit Games are going to be in Louisville. Like, what are you looking for? And like, what is like the biggest pie in the sky pitch that you have to be able to like, this is what we could do. This is option A. Option A is not going to get picked, but like, how would you see it? Like, what are the things that you'd want to do to like take over a small town in that way? We go back to Madison or whatever it is. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest, the way we always do it is just, you obviously have to go walk the venue, and we just take pictures and measurements of everything. And then that's when I get to have fun and take it back to the drawing board, take it to the team. Like, what can we do? And obviously for the games, that's CrossFit's heavily involved in that as well. The Chris who we work with there is amazing, best person ever. So yeah, just bouncing ideas off him, and he's very helpful with all of that as well. But yeah, going there, and then it's just brainstorming ideas from there, and the sky's the limit. So we basically get a canvas, to go and do that. And then around town, you look for spots, like if there's places to put pole banners. Local companies will sometimes put things in their window, and usually you can get with the city and see if there's any options around that. But that way, like the airport was always done. Again, that wasn't us, but it was done because they were in talks with the city, and they were able to get things like that approved. So yeah,
I think that stuff makes such an impact on the community, right? Like not everybody flew into Madison, but if you did, you knew we were there. You knew you'd arrived literally the second you stepped off the plane. And then, naturally you fly into Chicago or whatever, and like you're like, I guess I'll get that feeling when I get to Madison.
Right.
But it makes such a difference. Like, I think some of that stuff can be lost. And I think when you take that back down to the affiliate level, I think maybe people don't realize how warm and inviting you can make it feel when you get the right signage and you pay for the right things to go, oh, this is like a place where people want to be. And I don't think people always think that a sign is something that like makes them feel that way. Like somebody having a vinyl sign out front, waving in the wind looks a little different than it being on the mast next to all the other real businesses. Right. And like, of course CrossFit's a real business, but like, I think there's that imposter syndrome with, some folks that own affiliates that like, they're like, oh, well, we might have to move in 2 years. It's like, just pay for it. Put your fucking name on the sign. Like, it matters. And it matters to the people showing up. It matters to the people that are going to like check out your business.
Yeah. Or let's talk about ways we can make that sign movable, take it with you. Let's not wrap it in vinyl. Let's do a nice fabric banner or something that you can hang, and then you can take it if you move.
In many ways, you're like the quintessential example of the afterthought of the affiliate owner. It's almost comical how many affiliates, especially that I speak with, who at some point they're like, "Oh, we got to get a sign." I'm like, "What do you mean you got? What do you mean you got to get a sign?" How did that become like 92 of the opening procedure? I get it because again, back to the nostalgic era, like the Fight Club era, when like, you were the back corner of a warehouse and if you found the shoe belong type thing. That part I understand, but like today's day and age, that has definitely shifted, and maybe that's a good conversation to have with you because you're kind of again at the forefront of that, which is like just the change in the mainstream part of it. But Andrew said it earlier. Affiliate owners are broke and they're angry and they want to point a lot of fingers at a lot of different things. And it doesn't really take much to walk back into an affiliate and to point back and be like, yeah, but who are you? Right. And then they're like, what do you mean? And then you realize very quickly that the reason that affiliate owners in many cases are broke and angry is because what comes along with it is this weird sense of entitlement, because the thing that we do changes so many lives. We just expect people to know how important it is. I'm like, you got to still impress them.
Yeah.
They've got to make a decision. And so like, to the CrossFit stuff like we were talking about, the reason, StubHub and Carson was cool was because there was branding, right? Like, not to say there wasn't signs in Romus, but like moving into that, like all of a sudden there was rigs and there was floor mats and like the floor was painted. And like, if you just watch the eras and the epochs change inside just the games, there's still a lesson that can be extrapolated back to your affiliate, which is like, hey, we've gone mainstream, but a lot of affiliates haven't necessarily really understood, like, one, how to adopt that. And I'm glad that you guys offer that service for them, to be able to step up graphically. But most of them, one of the things that I deal with them a lot is they have no idea who they are, right? They just know what they're a part of. And that's all well and good if what came along with being a part of that came with your own branding package, right? Like if you became an affiliate and you got your sign and your logo and your colors and everything, but then you'd be a franchise. And this would be a lot more money.
Yeah.
And so that part is interesting, is for me, is like, well, how did brand get collectively forgotten?
Because entitlement swallowed, it's what you said earlier. Entitlement in the beginning swallowed it because the brand message we were given is that we are the only humans on planet Earth fixing chronic disease. Not Weight Watchers, nothing, just us. And you get to do it while drinking cold brew, growing a beard, and getting tattoos. So like you get like all of that wrapped up, and you expect you get a sense of entitlement. Man, I don't know why that just came some clarity when you said that, Tony, because it is the truth, right? Like you I would hate to have an argument with someone and be like, no, fuck this. I'm like, guys, Weight Watchers probably has helped more people get off. Just because they have more numbers. It's okay. It doesn't mean that it's like God's greatest gift or whatever. But could you imagine if Rob was there in the very beginning with this like package of like, hey, you just applied for affiliation. Guess what? Because we came birthed out of CrossFit, here's 20% off. You need to have a sign. And then maybe someone else like me would talk to them and be like, if you don't have a sign, more than likely you're going to fail. And then like Tony and Carrie actually talk to them like, hey, what is your actual goal? Who do you want to be with this business? And it's like, I mean, new affiliates are getting spoiled. Enough said, because I know they can contact you, Rob. I've seen it. I'll definitely push people to you.
For sure.
You know, and like get to talk to Tony, Carrie, people didn't
Awesome.
exist.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of accidental genius to that problem that happened, for CrossFit, but not for the affiliates, which was, I don't know, it was never like a malicious intention, I don't think, but like so much of the early era of that licensing agreement meant that like, you could use the term and the name CrossFit, and you had to put journal on the website. But like, aside from that you were kind of allowed to do whatever you wanted. But most people took that as like, I have to put CrossFit in my name. And so what we ended up with was like this global distribution of CrossFit in signage, because people really wanted to just be CrossFit. They didn't really want to be their version of CrossFit. And so I think what you ran into a lot was, HQ got very, very lucky with that early expansion of like, all these people look like CrossFit XYZ instead of, they really probably should have understood that like, no, you're licensed your ability to use the methodology and speak about it and interpret it and market it if you would like to, but like it's your mission to bring your vision into the world. They were just never prepared for that part of it. It wasn't so nefarious to be like entitlement, but they did come out of it, right? Because like, to your point, Andrew, Weight Watchers is probably by the numbers help more people, but they've definitely not done it with the enthusiasm that CrossFit took over the world. Like they mobilized the masses, like weaponized the masses. And that there's a very cool story in that I think will be told at some point, just in, not necessarily, the book of it, but like just
Netflix documentary.
Yeah, watching that just cause come to life and like be a true, according to Simon Sinek's definition of it, a true just cause. Like it even literally ostracized, the owner of it to protect itself. Like that is, quite amazing. And I think that because of that, there's an accidental Achilles in it, which is like, it's so cool to be a part of. You forget that you have to be your own thing too. And like that part, I don't think was ever really communicated, but now here we are, and all the cheese dicks have showed up and stolen everybody's lunch because they've got branding packages and they've got graphics packages and they've got marketing budgets and they've got advertising budgets, and they have copied the things that affiliates have standardized, the bring of friends and these things. They're like, this is what they're doing. Steal it, market the shit out of it, beat them at their own game, and make it look better, right? And so now you have all these, I won't say it on air, these other brands doing similar things, not nearly as well, but it doesn't matter because people are walking in and getting a better impression. They're like, this is a cooler environment, a cooler atmosphere, way more Instagrammable. I don't feel like I got tetanus here. And everybody's got their shirt on, except for the girls, because they're now on Instagram. But like, it's different now. And so, but CrossFit is still doing it better. It's just to back to the defense of how important it is for companies like Signs RX, you got to catch up, right? Somebody's got to brand you guys into, you're going to have to play the game or you're going to get your lunch stolen more. Like the entitlement can't work anymore because now everybody's working out hard. So it's no longer about who's doing the harder workout. Right?
Yeah,
so
well said.
It's about getting them to be like, this is my place. And that happens. 90% of the relationship is made in the first 10 seconds of that relationship. And that's when they walk in. And yeah, I get it. We're talking about spending money on things you can't pick up and put over your head, right? Like you're going to put it on the wall once and you hope you get it right. But like, it's not that much money. I mean, like, I've worked with you guys in regards to like gym packages and the things that you guys can put together for truly pennies on the dollar. You're underpriced, but that's a different
Try. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Heard that too.
And like, but it's just for way less than you can spend on a Rogue package. You'll be able to buy several Rogue packages from the value that will produce long term in terms of the identity that you create. But the first part of this is back to that central question for the affiliates, which is, who are you? Because that's where you have to start before the brand happens. And I think you're helping them with that.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying.
You are, for sure. I think.
And there's,
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's so many things that we try to do just from like pre-designed things that we have on the website, because there's so many things you could talk about when you walk into a gym, right? I mean, the 10 general physical skills, like, people like to put that up, things like that, like your rules, your mission statement, just the flow of your gym in general. Like maybe you have an entryway and that has a neon sign or a cool desk with a sign on it right when you walk in. So we try to think through those types of things as you come into the gym. How can we brand it? How can we make it look cool? And how can we give that customer or that new athlete a journey as they walk through your gym before they even take their first class,
Yeah. I think Tony makes a great point about, like this is the stuff this is the gift that keeps on giving, right? Like you're investing in the, not even in the facility, but like in your brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting that out there versus like, I can, replace a barbell at will, right? I can go get any one of the 100 rowers that's on Facebook Marketplace right now. Like that stuff is replaceable. You
can't wear your rig.
You just like create a brand, and like that one sign could literally last you the entire time of your affiliate. And like
life, yeah.
And it kind of should, because unless you completely rebrand, but if you get ahead of it in the beginning, then you're picking a brand, you're picking an identity, right? Like Nike isn't like drastically changing the font, it's just, here it is, right? Like we got it right, and we're going to say that we got it right the first time. And now everybody knows what that means, right? Like I'm fortunate, I'm at CrossFit Roots, and like they picked a good logo and people want to buy the merch. You put it out there and you run a couple of different things every quarter. People continue to buy sweatshirts and all that stuff, but it's also on the building. It's inside the building. It's on a lot of things. It now has an established brand presence, not just inside the gym, but around Boulder. And now beyond that, because we have, the internet and all that. And so it's not insignificant. And I think people continue to think of it as an afterthought, instead of one of the first things that you're going to do. Who are we? Yeah. What's the brand? What does it look like? What do we stand for?
Yeah, but I think that's the hardest part too. The hardest part, right, for a gym owner, is just like, because you could go to a gym and like, this guy has it figured out. Like I was at Arsenal the other day. He even had arrows on the windows to point to the door, like just simple things like that. And his colors, it was really bright and vibrant. And then you walk in and you're just, boom, there's the logo on the wall. It's gigantic. But it seems like, he had that vision, right? We didn't do any of that stuff. It was already there. We did some new stuff. That's why we were there. But I think
does it cost less, Rob, then if you give you that? Sorry, this is a question for someone listening. Guaranteed business for you. If I have that vision, can I tell you, and that would probably cost less than me asking you to provide me said vision, or no?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah, if you have that vision, and we work with people like that all the time. Even some events, like we work with some people that a month before the event they have everything, because they know exactly what they want. They've sold their sponsorships. It's all dialed in. And then we work with other ones where we're up to the day before and we're still trying to, help them get the rest of that over the finish line. So I do think that is a hard part of it. I mean, I've struggled with it before too, even branding my own office. It's like, it's tough to make those decisions. Like I want it to look really cool. Like I wish my neon sign was here because it'd be behind me right now. Just things like that, where like, I kind of know what I want, but it's still tough to make that decision. like, what is the final call? So yeah, it is, I don't know, it can be tough.
It's chicken and egg. I mean, it's the thing that I deal with a lot with the affiliate owners in general, which is just, it's a conversation of identity. And I don't necessarily mean like vision and mission. I more so mean like, how they see themselves in terms of like, oh, I'm just a gym owner type of thing. Because a lot of people unfortunately have this belief that you have to become the thing before you are the thing, right? Like I don't get to say that I'm an astronaut until I've been to space, but like you're an astronaut as soon as you start doing astronaut shit, right? And the reason I mention that is that you take an atmosphere like Roots, and I think a lot of people think that like once my culture becomes a culture, then it would become a brand and then it becomes a thing. But it's not until you give them something that they can point at, belong to, and be a part of that the brand starts to follow. And so, you have to, long before the identity creates itself, and then this is what I think a lot of affiliates are waiting for, is like their culture to tell them essentially what they are and who they are and what they're, you've got to give them something to belong to, especially in today's day and age. Like that's all people want. They want a place to connect and something to belong to. And all of that is centered around, you can call it a material level, you can even call it surface level or shallow, but like they've got to have something that they can point at and be like, that's who we are. And that piece is missing so much of it. And like, they just have to basically pick up the phone and call you guys, even if they have that vision or not, to have somebody be like, love what you guys have here, but you've got 17 different logos, 92 different colors. None of these match. Like when I sign up, who am I? Like which shirt am I putting? Every single run you guys have has a different color, a different logo. Your gym doesn't have anything on, like, just give people something that they can rally around and then watch how quickly it comes around. Cause like to the point of like Roots, like when it's on the wall, everything becomes about that brand. Right. But until you have that, maybe it's a pride thing. Maybe it's a security thing. Maybe it's a confidence thing. But I think it's honestly mostly vulnerability. Until you're willing to put yourself out there and like be like, I think this brand is cool. What do you guys think? Do you really get to put something out there that you can become proud of? Because everybody else is looking around being like, can I just like maybe just change the font of Roots and then I'll put that on the wall? And you do. And then everybody's like, but you don't believe in it because you didn't create it. It's back to the AI conversation. You don't have that association, that validation, creation. So you're just like, yeah, it's us. That's our thing. You're like, no, it's not. But it's very cool that they can pick up the phone and call you guys and be like, I understand. You're not alone. We can help. Tell me what your gym feels like, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can start there. And I think that it helps them beg a bigger question, which is like, oh, I don't know. They didn't call me. Shameless plug. I'll help them with that part.
Yeah, and also it's the yellow notepad concept. Like, I think give Two Brain credit where credit's due. I don't know, yellow notepad. I think that's a Chris Cooper thing where it's like, go and systemize every single thing in your gym at one point on a yellow notepad. Maybe someone told me that. Regardless, whatever. If I heard it from there. But like if you went into your gym with it's called a white notepad because yellow is for systems, but if it's a white notepad, you can be like, if I have no concept of what I'm doing here, I'm scared to be here. I have no idea where to go. I have no idea where a bathroom is. I have what could I get on the walls? What could my flow be to the front desk? I think that's what you were talking about with that gym that has arrows. Like, that's something I just sold my gym and he literally is doing that right now. And crushing it, like built a bench out of thin air that I never would have, because it divided the room. He made the one area more like a coffee area and this and that. And then it was a divider, but it was a bench. So right when you sit in, you're the front desk. I was like, I never would have thought of that. But I also never I never walked through it in that mindset. Right. And people should definitely be doing that, man.
Yeah, I think that's the value of being able to call somebody like ScienceRx, because you can have somebody walk through and be like, because if there is a hallway in your gym, which way do you want to walk down it, right? Like if there is a front door or a back door or a side door.
Let's go back to the COVID days where they put just, like you had to walk in the grocery store, one person that way and then one person that way. And then if you randomly stepped in front of somebody, you instantly had to have a political debate. And then you had to disagree with.
I'm sure Rob made some little markings that went on the floor that everybody had to stand 6 feet apart at some point. No, I think it's more interesting that people don't apply what they do, and this isn't everybody, obviously, but people don't apply what they do every single day to the business, right? So, like in class, I tell everybody exactly what to do. Hey, guys, it's not run or row; it's go run the 400 meters, right? Like that's the part of the warm up. Oh, you can't do that. Like, great, we got something for you. So you want people to do one thing. Don't expect them to know what to do. They are there to mostly turn their brain off. So guide them, right? That wayfinding is key. Where's the bathroom? I don't know. Maybe we need to hang the sign down. That's how I find it when I'm at Costco, right? Like randomly my kid's like, Dad, I gotta poop. And I'm like, yep, let's go find it, And where do I find it? I see signs hanging. Tells me everywhere.
Your kids poop in Costco?
Simple stuff.
Of course.
That's impressive. My son would hold his dump till he got home if we were on a vacation, 3 days.
Oh God, no! This kid's regular. He is morning and evening, guaranteed daily. Yeah, really cuts into our time. No, but I mean, it's like those little things that like don't be upset when you are not getting the results you want out of people when you haven't told them yet what to do.
Yeah.
Right. If I was like, warm up everybody, and like you're like, but no, I wanted you to do like leg swings and then jump rope and like no, none of you were doing that. It's like, well, yeah, my expectation was way off versus what I told you to do. And so like, oh wait, can I put fitness in 100 words? Can I put the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum on the wall? Fuck yeah, you can. And like, you should. Like that should be on the wall of every affiliate, not to standardize them, but like if you read What is Fitness and it resonated with you at all, it could be in your affiliate. And then you don't need to try and do your shitty L1 version of that on the whiteboard, how often you might do it. It's just there as reference. And then again, it's that one-time thing. It's why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We used to do that with onboarding. When we would onboard new members, we'd have all the signs on the wall and it's just there. We can talk about it, go through it all. They could reference it anytime.
Just reduce decision.
Little things.
That's all it is.
Yeah.